Heading into this 2013 NFL season, I didn't know quite fully what to expect from the Colts. They had a great comeback season in 2012. Chuck Strong and Bruce Arians led them to the playoffs. Andrew Luck established himself as the face of the Indianapolis Colts franchise, and they seem to, in theory, have a lot of momentum heading into the 2013 season. However, I wasn't fully sold that this team was going to be able to maintain its same level of play. I thought that there was going to be some drop off and they were going to struggle a little bit, maybe win 8 or 9 games in year number 2 under Andrew Luck. Well, I was wrong. Luck is starting to become like Peyton Manning. Starts for the Colts, they win 10 or more games. We'll see how many years he can keep his own streak going. He's at 2 now. Um, this Colts team, when you watched them this year, they had games where they looked like world beaters. There was a point in time in this season where I was thinking that maybe this is the team that's going to represent the AFC in the Super Bowl. Just think about some of the teams that they beat this year. They beat the Seattle Seahawks. They beat the Denver Broncos. And then later on in the year, they beat the Kansas City Chiefs. Those were all playoff teams. 2 of them that won 13 games, another one that won 11 games. I mean, this is a Colts team that had its moments. They beat the 49ers, who won 12 games this year. Think about that for a second. They beat the 49ers, the Seahawks, the Broncos, and the Chiefs. Not many teams could claim that. Those are some big-time signature victories for a team. Those are the type of big-time signature victories that make you think that a team can pull it together and make a deep run into the playoffs and maybe even win the Super Bowl, because clearly and obviously the talent is there. Well, the Colts kind of benefited from the fact that they played in an incredibly weak AFC South. That division was bad, and the Colts were fortunate that they were basically able to run away and hide with it. But they got the job done, did what they needed to do, and won a playoff game too. And not just won any playoff game, but they had the Chiefs at home. They were down 28 in the second half and found a way to come back and win. Excuse me. So even though the next week they went to New England and they got shellacked pretty good, there has to be some hope there for the Colts organization and Colts fans. You made the playoffs last year. This year you made the playoffs and found a way to win a playoff game. The progression is there. Where is this team going to go in 2014 and beyond? Now, what happened with this team, I think, is the Reggie Wayne injury really did hurt them long term. You could even see it once Reggie Wayne went down with the knee injury for a long period of time in the middle of the season. They were an entirely different team. I mean, the Cardinals dominated them. The Rams dominated them. They looked like an entirely different team. They looked like a shell of who they had been the first half of the season without Reggie Wayne. They made the big trade for Trent Richardson, gave up a first-round pick in this year's draft, and he really didn't come in and do anything at all. In fact, Donald Brown ended up playing very well as the season got towards its end and in the playoffs, and established himself potentially as the feature back for this team in 2014, assuming that they choose to keep him. Offensively, you also had T.Y. Hilton, excuse me, who had a great statistical season and really established himself as Andrew Luck's go-to weapon in the passing game now that Reggie Wayne was out of the equation. Coby Fleener, I feel, played better in the second year. But you look at the Colts offensively. You had Dwayne Allen go down early in the year with injury. You had Reggie Wayne go down in injury in the middle of the year. So this offense had players such as T.Y. Hilton step up, and Levon Brazil step up, and Griff Whalen step up, and Coby Fleener step up, and eventually Donald Brown step up. But they weren't firing on all cylinders, which has to leave you a little bit excited about what they could do in 2014. However, they must, as an organization, excuse me, find a way to better protect Andrew Luck on their front five, because their offensive line, they are not very good. That's just the way to put it. Costanzo hasn't exactly been a world beater at left tackle. The right tackle isn't all that great. And the interior of their line, I feel like, is in particular very weak. And that hurts them both in the running game and ultimately where that matters most, because they are a fat pass-first team and Andrew Luck is their team's identity. It hurts them in the passing game. For all the talk you're going to hear about the Colts needing to address the defensive side of the ball, and they do need to. Their defense is far from championship caliber. They must find out a way in this offseason to bring in some help on that offensive line to better protect their franchise piece, Andrew Luck. period. Now, defensively, this is a team running the 3-4 again that I still don't think has all the pieces you need to run the 3-4. I still think they're a little weak in the secondary. I think they're weak in the linebacking core. They drafted Bjorn Werner in the first round, which I thought was a mistake because I really didn't envision him fitting all that well into the 3-4. If you go back and watch my draft recaps, you remember I said that. I didn't think Bjorn Werner was a good pick, and I didn't think he fit the 3-4 very well. Felt he was a better 4-3 defensive end. If they were still playing the cover 2, I thought he could have been a really solid pick. But playing the 3-4, It's kind of like Nick Perry for the Green Bay Packers. Talented guy, but playing out of position. So this Colts team has to address some areas of weakness on the defensive side of the football because at some point in time, you don't want it to be like it was when Peyton Manning was there, where it was all about video game numbers and scoring a bunch of points. But then if your offense had a bad game, your defense couldn't step in and win you anything because your defense was giving up too many yards, too many points, was being out physical at the point of attack, wasn't able to keep coverage on anybody, and so on and so forth. So it is going to be important for the Colts to address the defensive side of the football too. They need to address the interior of their offensive line and the defense. It's going to be a little challenging since they gave away a first-round pick for Trent Richardson. Oopsie daisies. I wonder if they want to have that one back. But they're going to have to find a way in a draft that is deep in interior offensive linemen in the second and third rounds, and that draft that is deep in the secondary and in 3-4 outside linebackers. The Colts still have a chance with picks in the second and third and fourth rounds and so on and so forth to be able to address some of those deficiencies and be a better, more balanced football team heading into 2014. With all that said, the Colts have to be really happy with what happened. 2012, they have a great bounce back year. They make the playoffs. 2013, they play even better as a team overall. At times, they look like the best team in all of the National Football League, beating, like I said, the 49ers. Think about this. The 49ers, the Broncos, the Seahawks, the Chiefs. They beat 4 of the top teams in the NFL. 3 teams that ended up making their conference's respective championship games. That's no small accomplishment. You now have won 10-plus games again for a second year in a row behind Andrew Luck. You won the division this time, and you won a playoff game at home, coming back from 28 points down. The future looks really bright for Indianapolis, one of the best-run organizations in all of professional football, and I would anticipate there's going to be some Super Bowl buzz about this team heading into next season.